What is going on, YouTube people? Northeast Ohio Cards and Comics here to talk about Zion Base Prism. That's right. Made the news over the weekend. I think I briefly mentioned it in yesterday's video. Zion Base Prism PSA 10 has eclipsed 20,000 on the population report. I believe the number one highest graded card now in PSA 10 on the pop report. There's a lot of them. What I wanted to talk about today was not so much that this hit 20,000, more about how we could use Zion's pop reports as a guide to at least 2019 Prism, which is still a very popular set. There's a lot of good rookies from that set beyond Zion, obviously. Ja, there's a bunch of guys. So Zion, to me, gives us a baseline for how rare or short printed some of this stuff actually is. So we're going to kind of take a little quick tour through a lot of Zion's Prism cards and kind of see if we could see anything interesting. So like, comment, subscribe, all the YouTube jazz down there. We'll be using market movers today. Link in the description down below, along with a 20% off coupon code as well, if you want your own access to fancy charts and graphs. With all that being said, let's go ahead and dig in here. First thing I wanted to start about with is market movers, and I've mentioned this before on a video, recently added a new tool. So whether you have market movers already or you don't, what you can actually do if you sign up for market movers, you can now click on the pop report and it shows you how many have been added over preset number of days. I find this very, very helpful because it kind of helps prove some of what I've been talking about. People, let's switch over to the silver really quick. People have been saying, oh, just wait till you see how many of these things are in the backlog, PSA backlog, yada, yada, yada. Wait till they clear it out. My stance has always kind of been a little less so with Zion, more so with Luka and Trey, but just in general, this allows you to prove this point that you could go actually look to see how much of this stuff is actually coming on to the pop report. So Zion Silver, I'm going to go back 90 days. There's 1380 of these things. 1379 is the current population over the last 90 days. And over the last 90 days, I feel is a good thing to look at because that's when PSA has really been cranking out a lot of orders lately. So over the last 90 days, only 57 have been added onto the population count for 4.3%. And if you go back the last 30 days, only 21 have been added for 1.55%. 180 days, 136 have been added, only 11%. So, over the last 6 months, only 136 of these have been added onto the population count. So it just kind of backs up that, 2019 silver prisms are actually fairly short printed. They're actually more rare than 2018, I believe. So that is at least good. So let's switch back over here. I actually have 2 different pages pulled up because market movers caps you on how many different variations you can kind of compare to each other. I ran back 365 days. For the purposes of this, I don't really care about the up, down, all around stuff. We're mostly focusing on this column over here. So Zion Base Prism pop 20K now. What do the other things look like? Silver is the big one at 1,400, just under 1,400 actually. That number feels nice to me. And once again, this is not a video about running out and buying Zion. This gives you a general idea of what is out there, regardless of player. Because unless there's a specific printing issue, and we have seen this in the past, Lamar Jackson base Prism out of 2018 football. LaMelo Silver seems to be this way out of 2020 Prism. And there's been Patrick Mahomes 2017 Silver has a print dimple on it. So there are some exceptions to this, but in general, this is going to give us an idea of what's out there. And yes, it's just PSA data. We're not seeing BGS 95 True Gems or Black Labels and all that jazz. We're not seeing SGC, CSG, whatever. But PSA, whether we all like it or not, is still the dominant player in sports card grading. So the most cards have been graded through them. So if at nothing else, this is a good sample size across the board, kind of what to expect. So 20K base prisms, 1,400 silvers in PSA 10. That number feels pretty safe. Going on down the line here, and for this particular page, we'll just go from highest pop to lowest pop. So we have base, then we have silver, greens. And I forget what all these different things came out of them. A lot of them were retail exclusives. Some of them, so I don't remember exactly what every individual thing came out of. But greens, pop 612, not too bad there. Over the last, once again, 15% over the last 6 months, 5% over the last 90 days. And from what I noticed, these numbers seem consistent. Like his base prism is up about 5 to 6% over the last 90 days. His silver is up 5-ish% the last 90 days. The green is also up around 5% the last 90 days. So they kind of stick pretty close together. Going down from there, we have the purple wave, or I'm sorry, the variation. These are hanger exclusives, I believe. This is a base prism in air quotes because it's not, shiny. But it is a variation. It is short printed. Pop 531 on these. And this one does break the rule. It's only up 2%. Only 12 have been added in the last 3 months, and only 46 have been added in the last 6 months. So that number is a little more in line, a little light, but the last 90-day number is way under. Next up, we have the Ruby Wave. Not a big fan of these cards. They're okay looking. I prefer the cracked ices, but this is pop 352. And then we have the red ice. This one surprised me. Now, I will say, 2018, there are more of these on the pop report. These are more rare in 2019. Only 49 of these. And in the last year, because I did run these charts back 365, I'm sorry, I ran these back 6 months because I wanted to try to capture as much sales data as possible. But let me just blow it back a year just out of curiosity here. Yeah, in the last year, only 5 have sold. So, and the last one sold in June. So these do not come up very often. So no idea what this currently comps at, but very low population card at pop 49. The one that shouldn't surprise anyone, and this is kind of well known, this is one that is a tough grade. They are frequent with print lines, and they are very tough to get in PSA 10 condition. That is the Hypers. Very underrated card in my opinion because they look very similar to the silver. They present very nicely, but they do frequently have print lines on them. This in a PSA 10 is pop 8. So these do not get thrown on very often. In the last 6 months, 2 have been graded. And the last one that sold was April 3rd. So it's been almost 7 months, over 7 months since one has sold. So no idea what one of these would look like if it sold today. But very tough grades. They're also a little tricky on centering as well. I know I had some hyper Kevin Porter Juniors at one point in time, back when I had a lot of KPJ stuff. And in addition to print lines, they were very frequently very off-centered, like very off-centered compared to most other Prism stuff. This, honestly, of the non-numbered stuff, I believe, and I could be wrong on this, don't hold me to this, if it's not the most rare, it's pretty damn close in regards to non-numbered parallels. I'm sure there's some random first off the line thing or something that, would get thrown into that, but these are extremely tough grades in PSA 10. But so keep that in mind. If you see a clean rookie, once again, that's the whole point of this exercise. If you see a clean rookie card of a buzzy player from one of these different variations, especially the hyper, it might not be a bad idea to take a look at that and potentially send it in for grading. Now, we always say on the channel, just because something's low pop does not mean it should demand a high price. There are two sides to that coin. demand has to be there as well. And that's why you see, we'll just pull this as a random example, a green pop 612, or even a ruby wave pop 352, sells for 780 and 482 respectively. The silver, which has a higher pop, goes for 2200, 2300 almost. I mean, the green at 500 sells for only a couple $100 more than the base. The base has popped 20,000. The green has popped 600. A common misconception that you always see out there is, oh, well, I'm going to run and stock up on these greens. These people are dumb. Low pop does not equal everything. There is a demand side to low pop that has to be factored in. If the demand is not high, is the card truly low population? There's a balancing of scales that has to happen there, and I think people really lose sight of that. I mean, think about it. If you log on to eBay or wherever your selling platform of choice, My Slabs, Alt, PWCC, and you want to buy a nice Zion card, how far down the list are you going to go before you get to green? That's kind of the whole point. Now, I will say, to me, if there was a player, and there's the checklist is short on this, to me, the one that is often overlooked, and I think could be a good long-term play if you believe in a 2019 guy for the long term and you kind of want to get in on a budget, the best one to go for, in my opinion, out of everything on this list is the variation. It's a base card. Yes, I know, in air quotes, it's a base card, a base variation. But the fact that we are this far into the life cycle of Prism now, of 2019 Prism, and there's only 531 of these on the pop report, make me feel very safe about this card. You're getting into it for a relatively reasonable price. And I just think that this is not a bad one to get into. Once again, not necessarily talking about Zion, but if there is another player that you like from the 2019 class that has a variation, not everybody does. Only I think it's just the lottery picks do. I don't remember the exact checklist. I know DeAndre Hunter has one, Ja has one, RJ Barrett has one. I know Darius Garland has one. So I think most of the lottery picks do. But to me, the variation is criminally forgotten about. And it could, if Ja, Zion, whoever, Tyler Hero ends up becoming, Tyler Hero might have a variation too, becoming the next great thing. That's where the rarity side could come in, where people want a base card, but they don't want, this base card where there's 25,000 of them or whatever there will be by then. Let's flip over to the other page here and look at some more of his stuff. What did I go back here? Make sure I went back 365. Okay, yeah. Just wanted to make sure I grabbed everything. Couple interesting ones here. Once again, some really low pop, more low pop-ish stuff here. We have the Orange Ice, which I believe was a hanger box exclusive. Okay looking cards. I'm not a big fan of the orange. I like the red, and the red probably the best of the cracked ice. This is pop 362. The choice blue and yellow. These are very short printed cards. Only pop 33 on this. We have the purple wave. Kind of a cool looking card. I actually like these way better than the ruby waves in terms of looks. I know a lot of people don't like purple, but for whatever it is, it always seems to grab me regardless of set. Pop 37 on that one on Zion. Coming up here, his pink ice. Only pop 57. And once again, this is another classic example of the demand side of things. This is pop 57. Now, one has not sold in 5 months. 4 months. But the last one that sold was 1,600. Since then, his market's down quite a bit. So this would probably be a cheaper card comp-wise. It's kind of one of those things. Good luck finding one. But this is a very low pop card that does not sell for much because people just don't like the pink. It's just not a thing a lot of people are into. And if they're going to spend $1,600 on a Zion card, they're just going to look at other stuff, in my opinion. The two that intrigue me the most on this one are the fast breaks. Fast breaks to me are always criminally undervalued. Maybe it's just me personally that I like the way that they look. His fast break variation, so there is a fast break version of the variation that we talked about on the previous page, is pop 161. So not a ton of these. Cool looking card. And I like the little bubbles. Call me a sucker. I just like the way these cards look. They look very, very clean. and just they really catch the light really well. I just think they're very, very underrated. Only $1,000 for that one on a Zion. Once again, I'm not saying go out and buy this card on a Zion, but an interesting card to look for in other players like a Ja or something like that. The other one that is crazy low population, which I actually did not realize this when I looked at this, is just the base level fast break. 2019 Prism fast break PSA 10 Zion is pop 14. Which seems wild to me. I actually looked at Jaws and I could not find any that sold in the last year. So I'm not sure what the popular. I didn't go to the PSA website to see what the actual pop of his is, but it also seems extremely low. I believe this card had similar centering issues to the Hyper, is the reason why it's so low population. So that one's very interesting as well. Now, I did not pull any numbered stuff for this. That stuff's naturally going to be low population. I don't know that we need to go into a deep dive of that because we know exactly what the print run is on it. It's out of $299, $199, whatever. And we didn't look at every individual single Zion Prism variation or color or whatever you want to call it. But we looked at the heavy hitters, the ones that you kind of see pop up most commonly. So the big takeaways are exactly how low pop are the variation bases, how low pop hypers are, and how low pop fast breaks are. And once again, just because something's low pop doesn't mean it should outsell everything else. But if you truly believe in the player long term and you do enjoy scarcity, you might be able to get a good deal on something like that. Once again, this Prism fast break on Zion recently just sold. This is October 25th for $900. That's a third of the price of the silver. So if you could find these in the other players that you like from the 2019 class, possibly not a bad angle to take. Same thing with the ball on one hand variation at pop 161 or whatever it is that you're into. The reason I like those over the individual colors are because the colors can be a turnoff for people. You see it here with the pink. You see it here with the purple not gaining as much respect, especially the pink, considering how low population it is. Orange ice, same thing. When you start getting in the colors, aesthetics come in a lot more, whereas the fast breaks and the variation base, and even the hyper to a degree, take that out of the equation because it's just a silvered style or silver-ish, hollow-ish style card. So it's kind of neutral to a general degree. It's shiny, but it's a neutral shiny. Obviously, the base variation isn't, but you kind of get the point. So that's all I got for you guys and girls today. Like I said, now that hit 20K, I felt like it was worthwhile to just kind of dive in and take a look at what can we draw out of the Zion PSA population database and apply that to other players that we might be chasing from the 2019 class. And I think you could do the same exercise for Luka in 2018 at this point, because most of his stuff is probably on the population report. And you could kind of like backdoor your way into, okay, which ones of these are actually truly hard to find or tough grades? And you could probably do the exact same thing with Zion from 2019 with Optic as well. Go in and look at all his Optic colors, variations, etc. See what the pop report is and use that to draw conclusions on which ones are tough grades, which ones are rare. Like I said, every once in a while, there are weird exclusions that there was a particular print run with a card, but usually most of the hobby knows about that and talks about it. So like, comment, subscribe. That's all I have for you guys and girls today. Catch you on the next one. Peace.